Okay, so this is your home learning book overview booklet for Tuesday, and I've just noticed that I've made a mistake. I need to change that to Tuesday, but just make sure your one says Tuesday. Remember, you can watch this video again by clicking the bubble on the front page. Okay, turn to week 2. You can see today, excuse me, you can see today that we have our morning Zoom check-in at 9:15 for 2-3C and 3A. In the morning we have English, mathematics in the middle, and history this afternoon. These are your tasks for today. For English, complete all of your Activity 5 tasks in your English workbook. Mathematics, use your cube strategies to solve the question on page 14. Brainstorm the activity on page 15. And don't forget to complete your Mathletics and Prodigy online tasks. It says page 14, page 15. In your book that you've got printed, if you've printed it, you've got page 14 and page 15. In the online one, page 14 and page 15 are different because I've just taken those pages and they end up being a different page number. So offline, in the printed book, for page 14, page 15 it should be. Online, just ignore page 14, page 15. And for history this afternoon, use your workbook to complete activity 2 and find out more about significant days and weeks that are celebrated and commemorated in Australia. So we're looking at Australian days that are important for Australia. So not your birthday, that's important for you, but we're looking at days that are important in Australia. Okay, maybe you could look at January 26th and what happens on the 26th of January. Okay, so we've got that celebrated is, obviously you know what celebrated is, it's what you would do for your birthday or things like that. And commemorated means to remember. So sometimes those days that we commemorate are days of something that wasn't very nice in our history happening, but we remember the tough times, the tougher things that have happened. Down here where it says symbols means things that represent those days. So if I was thinking of Christmas, if I was thinking of Christmas, I could think of a Christmas tree. A Christmas tree is a symbol of Christmas. There's many, many, many symbols of Christmas, but a Christmas tree is a symbol of Christmas. When you think of the Christmas tree, you think of Christmas. Emblems, if you look at your school shirt, our school logo is an emblem. So things that are like that. It went by itself just then. Okay, activity 5, which is your English activities. So you need to describe the image below to an adult in your house, so this house one. Try to not have your parent look at it first, or whatever adult you're explaining it to. Try to explain it to them without them seeing it and see if they picture the same thing that you're describing. Use adjectives, which are describing words, and imagery, so those words that paint pictures. Try using a simile that compares, so a simile compares one thing to another. So an example of a simile is right there. The house was as dark as the night sky without any stars. So we're saying how dark it was by comparing it to something we know, like the night sky. We know the night sky is dark. That's how we can put that picture in our mind of how dark this house was. Obviously, it's not the night sky. It's just as dark as the night sky. Okay, that's that activity. You've got an independent reading activity, which is the same as yesterday. We want you to read a book that you have at home, preferably a novel. But if you don't have a novel, that's okay. Read a book that you know is a little bit tricky for you, but not so tricky that you'll be stuck on it. We want you to remember fluency and expression and reading smoothly. All those things that you learn about in class, we want you to remember that when you're reading it. Going back and rereading if it doesn't make sense. When you're finished, tell an adult what the text was about. Who were the characters in your book? What happened? Did anything interesting happen? If you're starting a new book, you could predict what happens beforehand. All of those things that we do in reading groups, that's what we want you to do here. But you get to choose the book. Okay, writing. This is an independent narrative, which means on your own. Using the image on the next slide that's going to inspire you, write your own narrative, your own made-up story. Remember, you need to include an orientation. So we want to set up the characters, the setting, who it happened to, what happened, and where it happened. Sorry, who it happened to, when it happened, and where it happened. The orientation sets up all of those things. The character, the setting, and the time of when it happened. The complication, what happened in your story that made it interesting? Did something fall? Did something explode? I'm trying to think of lots of different things that could happen. Think of your complication. If you think of the Tom and Terry, the canal story, okay, the rope broke and they fell into the water because they didn't listen to what they were told to do. That's the complication. And the resolution, how does that get better? Because the story doesn't finish where it gets complicated. That leaves us with too much suspense. How did it get fixed by the end? Please, please, please don't just have, and it was all a dream, the end. And they lived happily ever after at the end. We don't want to see that. Have a think about resolutions that make sense with your complication. Describe the character, setting, and time. That's your orientation. And use imagery to improve your writing. Okay, if you're talking about a house, tell us about that house. Use your similes, like we said here. Oh, on the wrong side. The house was as dark as the night sky without any stars. Paint that picture of the whole setting. It's really good to use imagery in the setting and in the character. Okay? You can describe a character by comparing them to something else. Use that imagery to paint that picture in our head so we have a really clear image of what you want your story to look like. Okay? The online platform here that it says to share your writing to is ClassDojo or Google Classroom. Now, my class, 3-year, we're having a bit of trouble with our Google Classroom, so maybe we can just stick to ClassDojo. You can try Google Classroom, but just post it to your portfolios first in ClassDojo. Okay, that is the image. So having a look at this, how can you write your own story? I'm not going to give you many more tips than that because I don't want your story to be my story. Okay, check your work. Did you do those 3 activities? Reflect on your work. Tell your parents about your orientation, your characters, your setting, the time that your story happened. Is it past, present, future? Show them the complication and the resolution. Discuss that. And explain what imagery is and where you've used it, how you've used it. My mouse is just making the slides go by themselves. Tuesday activity, Sam's Money Challenge. Okay, we want you to use cubes. Read the question. Circle the numbers. Underline the question words. Box up the key ideas. Eliminate the rest and draw a picture to check your answer. Then write your answer. So use that to answer the next question. All right. Sam brought some lunch money for his family, which cost $13.65. Sorry. Sam brought some lunch for his family, which cost $13.65. He paid using that note. I wonder if you can tell me what that note is. And then you need to figure out how much change will he receive. Okay. What do you need to do? Do you need to add? Do you need to subtract? How do we do that? Have a think about that. Spend some time on it. Then brainstorm and think. As Sam put his change in his pocket, he realized he'd been given 1 note and 4 coins. He wondered, sorry, that's spelled incorrectly. He wondered what other quantities could he make up with 1 $5 note and 4 more coins. Okay, so have a think about what's the smallest amount he can make with a $5 note and 4 coins. What's the largest? They don't have to be the same coins. That you have to just think about what possibilities are out there and what's the smallest amount he can make, what's the largest amount he can make. If he has 4 10-cent coins, that's 40 cents. If he has 4 20-cent coins, okay, he has a $5 note plus those coins. Think of all the possibilities and then tell me what's the smallest one and what's the largest one. And then you can share that to Class Dojo. And then you've got your history activity, which if you click on there, you get to open the booklet and you're doing activity, I think it was activity 2. Let me go back to that and I'll tell you what it was. Yes, activity 2. Okay. Have a great day of learning, everyone.